system of religious veneration and devotion directed toward a particular figure or object.
Okay. Figure, object.
Or a relatively small group of people having religious beliefs or practices regarded by others as strange or sinister.
Yikes.
Okay.
Sinister is the key word here.
So here's the thing. I would say that under a technicality, because what was the first part you said? Before the sinister part, the first definition.
A system of religious veneration and devotion directed toward a particular figure or object.
Okay, so I will say, in my experience, like, doing the church thing, we obviously want to follow the teachings of Jesus Christ, right? Of this the all white power that we have of Jesus, even though he wasn't white whatsoever.
White?
Yes.
Why would you say all white power, bro?
Have you not seen all the pictures of
cut
Jesus?
that.
Have you not seen all the peoples of Jesus?
I have, but he wasn't white. We all know that.
He didn't.
Show me a brown picture of Jesus.
I'm gonna go find
just
one right
based
now,
on. I'm talking about based on like where he was from.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Was not white.
But if you look,
we just know that.
If you look at all these depictions of Jesus, yeah, you say you know that. However, there are people that still love white Jesus, and they refuse to say he was a brown Jesus, right? Anyways, with my experience of Jesus, okay, I will say this:
white Jesus,
white Jesus. You have this devotion, I would say, maybe not necessarily to. I think, like you were saying, Stephanie, like there are people that are genuine in church and genuinely there to serve the higher good and to serve the teachings of Jesus and share the love that he had, that the stories told that Jesus had for others with the tax collectors and the prostitutes and everything like that. Jesus was out there doing these outreaches, right? And so you want to be good people in doing that. Where I feel like it does become a cult is when it does focus on the object, which is maybe not Jesus, but maybe the
church itself.
The church itself, the prosperity that the church provides based on their teaching, the ideas of being
Christian.
Yes, the ideas of Christianity, where that becomes church-like and that overtakes the idea and your belief in Jesus himself. Which is why I haven't stepped into a church since probably Hillsong. Not because of Hillsong, but because I feel my personal relationship with Jesus and my religion is not based on the church. I don't want to be contaminated by the church and by the teachings of people. And that's a whole thing about the Bible. Like I understand that the Bible is a guideline on how to be a good person. And history recollection of the teachings of Jesus and the things that God does and these stories and parables that are a collection, but they're ultimately written by men who claimed that Jesus was talking directly to them, that God was directly talking through them. And that's great. I can appreciate that sentiment. But then modern day religion then skews that, and preachers and these people that are talking about prosperity and these people that are talking about the things in the Old Testament that happen that you can prosper from, that you can go ahead and be better from. These are things that they skew in order to manipulate the people that are following them. And then that's when it becomes this cult-like figure and cult that you're in that unfortunately leads to abuse, that leads to things that we see in this documentary, that leads to, even though you joked about it in the beginning when we first started, Frankie, about manipulating Stephanie to be on the podcast, like that is something that has been legitimately happening in churches. And this documentary is one that shows that. It shows the ugly face of it,
I'm glad it did.
Yeah,
I'm glad. And I think
I'm glad
churches should see it. I think we should all see it, and I think we all can learn from it,
Yeah.
Listen.
Because
I went in. Yeah. Oh no, sorry. Go ahead, Frankie.
Because of behind the music, I learned to read the contract before I signed. any record deals.
Was that the MTV show?
VH1,
Why did I make
baby.
the way for
VH1,
that?
Thanks, Steph.
360 deal, bro. You don't want that.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things that were, again, put in this documentary that I think the Carl Lentz stuff, it has a detailed account in the second part about, or from Raneen Karim, who was the one that had the affair with Carl Lentz for 5 months. It was a 5-month long affair.
Hey, yo, I get it, man. I saw her.
Did you see her?
No,
I saw her too.
Just kidding. That's problematic.
Listen, I was gonna say I went into this documentary just wanting some piping hot tea about an affair, and I got pedophilia.
Yeah,
I was not prepared
ready
for that. I was not.
Because I think they did a good job of like, hey, we're gonna bring you in here for that 5 months, because that's how people knew.
Like,
because if we knew that if that was in the trailer, we probably wouldn't want to watch it.
Yeah, people wouldn't watch it.
Or like if I knew, I probably would have been like, ooh, tread with conscience, But
yeah.
I didn't know, and I was like, oh, I wasn't ready.
My coworker is the one that told me to watch it, and she's not involved in church at all. She didn't grow up in church at all. And she was like, you got to watch this documentary. It is wild. And I was like, ooh, I would love to know more about the tea within Hillsong, thinking I was just going to get regular stuff that we all knew about growing up, like just out in the open. And then I got like, oh God, I got real dark, and it got real.
Well, it wasn't only that too, but you had the Carl Lentz situation. People knew of him, whether they went to Hillsong or not, because you saw this guy shirtless with Justin Bieber. You saw him
with
out
the
in the streets with Kevin Durant and all these celebrities. Like, people knew of him, even if they didn't know what church he was. They're like, oh, who's that guy? Who's this guy that is this new shaman for Bieber? Now Bieber was very problematic, and then all of a sudden, hey, you need to talk to your agent because we got somebody that you probably want in your circle, so that way you could look a lot better than you do right now, because Bieber's not doing well. At that time, before Carl Lentz came into his life, Bieber was not okay. He was not okay.
He wasn't.
He's still not doing okay.
I mean, he's still not doing okay. I mean, he's probably doing worse now that Carl Lentz, this whole
he has
thing
to go into a plastic bubble. Like, haven't you seen his YouTube documentary? Bieber has to like get into like a sensory bubble to like feel okay.
Oof.
I mean, that's just child trauma from a young age, like just growing up in that whole thing. So, but I will say, like, cheating is never correct. It's never right to do, right? At all. But I feel like something
sounded like he was going to say cheating is never wrong.
It's never wrong. I almost did. I almost slipped. You lie, you cheat, you steal. That's all that. But I feel like it was that second part of the documentary, like, focus a lot on what he did and the affair that he had and stuff like that. And of course, he was eventually fired from Hillsong in November 2020. He also said, I know when he was dating the girl for 5 months, he was like, don't Google me, because when you Google somebody, like, that's a red flag, even if you're a pastor, not pastor.
And not stalking someone in a park?
Correct. And not stalk someone. Well,
it wasn't stalking.
No, it wasn't stalking. It's just
he just walked up to her in a park. After
that happens in New York
watching her.
That happens in New York all the time.
Yeah.
Every day. That's fine.
I mean, that's how before Tinder,
that's not stalking,
and Bumble.
though.
That's how you got dates.
He was like staring. Yeah. She said he was staring at her.
Yes, but it's different if she like left the park and then he's like following her to her house or something. Like, that's stalking. If you're in an open area,
what's your name?
And if she felt uncomfortable, she would have told him something. But she welcomed the conversation, and so yeah.
I just love that she was just like, "Here's all the information that you need to know. Keep me on camera. Tell me I will tell you everything." Like, she was very much here for her 15 minutes of fame.
Yeah, I agree. I agree on that. And that was a whole. And I believe cheating is wrong.
I don't applaud it. I'm just saying, it was just funny.
I believe cheating is wrong in many different ways, shapes, and forms. But
it takes two.
This was an opportunity for Hillsong to distance themselves from Carl Lentz and have this, which they said several times, that people thought Carl Lentz was just the face of the problem, or one of many, many, many deep-seated problems. And Hillsong obviously wanted to distance themselves, as far as like the church itself, distance themselves from Carl Lentz, because he maybe didn't look like the pastor that they wanted. He had an affair, which I feel. But I feel like there have been pastors that have had affairs. There's one pastor in particular, I will say, in Greenville, South Carolina, who is the pastor of Redemption World Outreach, Mr. Ron Carpenter, who famously cheated on his wife, had an affair, and was legitimately just let go out of the church, but then started his own church somewhere else. And then, but not only that, the first time that he cheated, he got caught up. He's like, me and Hope, my wife, we're going through this, and we're gonna get through this. This is gonna happen. Actually, no, I made a mistake. Ron Carpenter didn't cheat on his wife. His wife cheated on him.
Oh, that sucks.
So that was
Either way,
sucky. Right?
cheating just sucks.
Either way, it was
Either
she was it was a pastora cheating on the pastor. So that whole thing was very I didn't see the church like distancing themselves much from that, because people do. I think cheating happens. I think affairs happen because we are human. It doesn't make it right. Of course, it doesn't make it right. But I think Hillsong in this case needed that scapegoat. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but I feel like Carl Lentz was also let go. I mean, of course, he was a narcissist and probably a womanizer, as many accounts have said.
Well, yeah. I mean,
but do you think that the firing of him was very appropriate in that moment, or was it something like, hey, I need to step down to focus on my relationship with not only my wife but also with God? Maybe have someone temporarily come in. Let's just say like a pastor from on one of our local churches had an affair on his wife for 6 months. Okay, what? Oh Jesus! What kind of response would your church have? Would your members have? Would you feel is appropriate for that type of response?
Is that for part 2 or right now?
What do you mean?
Are you asking right now?
Yeah, I'm asking right now. Yeah.
Oh. I in a situation where, yeah, if you're portraying a role of being a monogamous Christian husband of one, not cheating, right? And you're preaching that and teaching that as well, and you do it, yeah, you should probably step down. I'm not saying permanently or forever, but it's just like when we find out somebody's an addict, they go to rehab. No, right? You know what I mean? They take a time of separation, a time to heal, to learn, to figure things out. Now they're gonna stay together or whatever. Yeah. Yeah, man. I think, it sucks that is in that role. Like, for example, there's a Christian artist, Gavi. I think I'm saying it right. He was signed under Reach Records, Lecrae's, label.
I don't listen to Christian music anymore.
And so, really dope producer. His music is actually really fire. Like, I like his music. Like, and I don't listen to a lot of Christian music, but this is an artist I would. And right before their big tour, scandal comes out that he's been DMing girls. He's married, but DMing girls, and like, I guess explicit, like allegedly dick pics or whatever, and a little back and forth. And now here's the thing: if he was a secular artist, a secular rapper, and nobody care if 2 Chainz is snapping away his thing to random fans, like who cares? Like that's the.
I mean, Big Sean's on Twitter.
That's the culture.
That's the culture. But here's the thing, fam. You didn't sign up to be just in the culture or just to be a secular artist or just regular hip hop artist. You decided to go the Christian route. If you go in the Christian route, you're set a higher calling, or I don't say a higher calling, but it's like
a higher standard.
Higher standard. Thank you. Yeah. A higher standard. Just like if you want to be a politician, you have to live to a higher standard. If you want to be a father, real talk, I ain't got no kids, and for a reason, because then I have to live my life to a higher standard, because I'm constantly going to be an example, whether I think they're listening or looking at me or not. Yeah. So it's just like, my thing at the end of the day, or like with pastors and people in ministry and stuff, thank you for what you do. But if you can't handle it, like it's okay to step down.
Get out.
Can't take
but just a 10. Just a 10. You don't have
to just like handle your life.
If you're not involved, doesn't mean you're not going to go to heaven. Like if you're not going to church 5 days a week, it doesn't mean you're your Christian card is going down. Like,
Minus
no.
stars, yeah.
Yeah, you're not getting minus stars.
You cannot work your way, like work any harder
People
to get
who-
into heaven.
You can still prestige, you know.
Yeah. At one point I remember, when you get born again, you get saved. I was part of the greeters team, the prayer warrior team, the worship team, the dance team, the mime team, the choir team.
They wanted you to be a youth pastor.
They wanted me to be a youth pastor, and I was like, no, because like, if I want to have a glass of wine randomly one day with my mom, and then the world finds out that the youth pastor had a glass of wine, like, it would be a big scandal. And I had to say, do I want to sign up for that kind of life? And that sucks, because I love people and I love youth.
Jesus drank wine.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? This is like 1999 we're talking about. Like,
it
in
wasn't appropriate to drink
2000,
at all.
it was like not cool. Now we have churches that have beer dispensaries,
Communion, bro.
Yeah. or small groups that they meet at dispensaries. Like, we're slowly evolving and learning from the previous generations.
You can't go to hell for having a beer.
Oh man, I need a beer after this. Actually, I need a beer now.
No, I'm saying I'm literally drinking a beer.
Where's my beer right now?
No, but I'm saying we're slowly
I need a beer
learning
and I
that.
need a bed.
For real, we're all like,
So basically, to end this whole thing, because Alex talked about it a little earlier too. Of course, Carl Lenz was fired. That's what everybody wanted, the tea, when they watched the documentary. But we did have some other revelations that seemed to rear their ugly heads. Right after they talked about Carl Lenz in this part 2 episode, they also talked about a woman. Her name was Anna Crenshaw. She was the daughter of a preacher that was in America who went to Hillsong College back in 2016.
Oh, that part.
So so this little young lady decided to go to a friend's house that one of the I think worship leaders was actually at. They had like a dinner and stuff like that. And speaking of drinking, there's a
he
little
was
bit
one
of
of the
wine.
pastors or something.
I think he was like a worship leader
I
or
don't know.
pastor. He was in the band. Yeah, I remember that. Or like something in leadership for worship. But I remember that they talked about, like Frankie just said, drinking wine, maybe a little glass of wine. I guess he drank a little bit too much and asked the young lady and their friends if they were going back to their dorm, or if they want to sleep over inappropriately at that house that they were in. That wasn't even his house, I believe. I think it was a friend's house, like another leader that was there.
I think it was like a party or like a get together.
And basically like
But he was like
apologized.
feeling her up too.
Yeah, because she got up from the table and was like trying to walk away, and he was filling up on her very much, a lot. So this happened in 2016 at that party. She felt very uncomfortable every time she had to look at him for over 2 years, because she did not report it to Hillsong until December 2018, because she felt not only ashamed, but also she didn't want him to get in trouble. And that was that victim mentality. It's like, okay, well, I don't want it to be a bigger deal than it was by reporting this, but at some point I need to, which she did.
Well, then you feel like it's your fault.
Yes.
That's what they teach you.
Yeah, and that's something that, I mean, especially you from with your perspective as a woman, and maybe going through, not necessarily you've been through a situation, but as a woman, maybe possibly going through a situation like that, like with you being, and I feel for women everywhere, because there are a lot of men that are in power. And she also talks about how she went to leadership in Hillsong when she saw a lady that was there in front of her asking her about it, and she was like, I felt like I wasn't being talked with, but I was being interrogated. They would ask me these questions over and over, the same questions, asking me,
Trying
like,
to catch her in a lie.
lie, yeah, and try to slip and stuff.
They're
like
trying
that.
to cover up.
So as someone that is being a victim of an assault like this, like how I don't understand, I don't grasp how the church, being the church, again, we go back to the times where you had that volunteer that went to Carl Lentz about, hey, I had premarital sex with my boyfriend, what should I do? I'm coming to you for advice as a person of leadership, as a person in the church. If I can't go to my own family, if I can't go to my own school, to a therapist or anything like that, I'm going to you as my pastor. You're the person that I confide in. This girl goes to the leadership at Hillsong College. Hey, this happened to me. I was sexually attacked and I felt unwanted. I felt uncomfortable. And this person in leadership, I don't want them to get in trouble, but I need to get this off my chest because I am living with this for 2 years. And she's just living here for 2 years. There's people out there that are probably living through this trauma forever, for years until they die. You talk about the guy that Frank Houston eventually assaulted back in the 70s, that was at the ages from 7 to 8 years old, being sexually assaulted by the head pastor of Hillsong Church, which was probably a small church back then, but eventually grew into what Hillsong is today. They try to pay him off with hush money. Brian Houston is the son who's like, oh, well, maybe you tempted my father in a way and it's your fault. You go through all these, and this is the heart and meat of this documentary where, yeah, Carl Lentz, of course, yeah, he cheated, and that's what gets everybody the butts and seats because they want to see Justin Bieber on this documentary. But you go deeper into it, it's like, no, this is not what that documentary is about. This is about assault that is happening. This is about sexual exploitation that is happening to these people who are confiding in leadership of the church. And this is not, the problem is, this is not the first time that it happens in church. And I believe that is the firm message. It is happening in the megachurch right of Hillsong, but it has been happening. And
it's being covered up.
And it's being covered up consistently.
And the bigger the level, that's when the devil's going to get you, said Denzel Washington.
And what movie?
Don't start with that. In what movie was that?
Keep my name out your motherfucking mouth.
You should have said, keep my wife's name.
Yeah.
That was a missed opportunity throughout this podcast.
That's okay.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
I stand my feet on solid ground.
Get out.
The rock is my foundation. Okay. All right.
Steph, you have something to say? You raise your hand.
I meant to mute my mic. I accidentally.
Frank, you have something to say?
I'm hungry.
I know. I was just looking at Uber Eats. I was like, "Damn, it's late."
No.
Can we have communion now?
Yeah, communion. Yes. After we talk about little peepees here being touched. So
no, I don't want to talk. About it. It made my stomach turn.
Yeah. This was the most disturbing part of all of it. Like, and I rewatched this part specifically today because I was like trying to make sure I caught up on everything because I thought I missed it. I thought I missed it, and then I rewatched it. And then they talk about the events of all this, and specifically the craziest part is that the son is like going on record and writing all these documents and saying, well, this happened 30 years ago. Like, it doesn't matter. It's the fact that it still happened. Like, that's the thing that they try to make it seem like he was very young and this happened a long time ago. That's still not okay. It doesn't
I think
matter.
That makes it worse because he doesn't have the mental capacity to understand what's happening. That's the same 100%. Thing when Frankie was talking about which I didn't know about that, but Royal Rangers that you were talking about. But Royal Rangers, if you don't know what Royal Rangers is, it's basically like a Boy Scouts of the Christian church. And they were
Boy
an
Scouts
alternative to that.
for Jesus.
Boy Scouts for Jesus. That was meant to be like, okay, this is an alternative.
Not all of them are bad.
Not all of them are bad. A lot of them are weird.
But a lot of them are not.
But it's one of those things where you don't know at that age, like what you're like, how to mentally process this. And it doesn't hit you sometimes until you have to then confront that trauma later on, whether it's in therapy, whether it's self-reflection, that you understand like, oh, that happened to me. This was something that I went through that was not okay. And maybe the issues that I'm going through in my relationships in life with other people, with my friends, with my family, with work or whatever the case might be, if something is triggering me, it stems to that moment in time. And that is something that's always going to be time stamped. That's one of those, it kind of brings me back. I was watching What If, the Marvel show, and they're talking about an absolute point in time on the Doctor Strange episode. Like, this point in time happened. This is an absolute point in time where she died. You cannot change this, no matter how much you try, no matter how many timelines you alter.
That was a sermon.
That is a sermon. If Doctor Strange came to my church, I would go fucking immediately.
Marvel is a cult.
No, that's not a cult. And at one point is Marvel a cult?
A cult, yes.
At one point is the Jedi ways.
No, And I was gonna say that earlier. Like, honestly, a lot of things can be looked at as a cult.
Yeah.
Like, if you really think about it,
Disney 100%.
Oh
As
yeah,
a cult.
That's a cult.
The Republican
the
Party
fairy
is a
dust.
cult.
Oh yeah, like seen that guy.
I know. I was just gonna say, you're the one
All right,
bringing up
last one,
politics,
last
not to
one,
get
last
political.
one.
Not to get
Last
political.
one.
Not to
Not to get
throw it out
political,
there.
but did you know that in 1800?
But these are things, like I said, it's an absolute point in time that this guy unfortunately didn't know was happening to him when he was younger, and it's just it's a sad thing to see. And I know there was a lot of other stuff, with Hillsong College, like the whole NDA thing, like you had to sign an NDA. That one experience that one girl had where she came and then I think her luggage was gone or something like that. Her money was gone and they refused the check, whatever check that she got
Check
for
never
money.
went through.
Her VA check.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that broke my heart.
Like it breaks your heart. Like you go to a place where you're supposed to be
The freaking
welcomed
green light, red light.
Oh, the whole green light.
Right.
Yeah, like it's Squid Game basically for school. Like it's crazy. Just like, are you going to be in this? What tract are you going to be on? Are you
The
gonna be,
irony of them having a system in place to green light or red light you to care for children,
for other
be
people,
for children specifically, to be in the vicinity of children that you were like
if you did
mentally
premarital sex, if you drank,
it's
if you
red
did
light,
anything.
green light, but like
They didn't want any.
they didn't red
Pastor
light.
Franks.
They didn't red light the dad, the grandpa or whatever.
They didn't want the
Brian
For
Houston's dad.
touching little peepees. Yeah, exactly.
Can we stop saying that?
I'm sorry. It's
We're gonna
the
bleep
reality.
it every time.
Yeah.
Little Peppers.
All right.
This was a good group therapy session.
Love this for us.
Either
I feel like
way,
we could do a whole other episode just on like shame.
Yeah.
Shame.
I just felt like that was like super disturbing and like I guess for me, like I could understand why, like if we're talking about how people are turned off from church or like can feel like a sense of like I can't trust this. Like this is a perfect example of why they would feel that way, if that makes any sense. Like I'm not saying for everyone that watches this to make a decision on like your life to ever go to church or to ever believe in anything like that, because my beliefs are what I believe and that's it. But like I could understand why someone watching this would be like, that's exactly why I was, I'd never believed in the first place, or why I've turned away from it, because maybe an experience that they felt or, just seeing that. So
yeah, and I don't think the intention of this documentary was to make you make a decision of like, hey, you're either on Hillsong's side or against religion.
It was Hillsong specific.
Yeah,
it
was the organization, like what they did and how covering things up ended up blowing back and how maybe you shouldn't do that.
And I also think like it also gives you hindsight on maybe what's happening. And it's not the first and won't be the last church that this happens to or preacher that this happens to. And it hasn't been. So I think, speaking for myself, like after watching this documentary, I'll get everybody's final thoughts on here. Speaking on the documentary, I think it was it shed a light on a lot of things that I maybe was not aware about. As far as Hillsong specifically, like we've been talking about, I have been aware of situations from other pastors, from other churches, that things like this had happened from. I've had conversations with friends as well that maybe things have happened to them when they were younger, whether that was in childcare at church or in just someone else's care, maybe at church, someone's friend's house they were sleeping over, that things happen to them, and that's trauma that is caused by the church. So I believe the reason I even said to do this podcast or want to do this podcast or even want to watch this documentary was because I see people all the time, like from the church, posting, yo, like Disney, like don't say gay. I can't believe they're taking this away from that. Oh my gosh, can you guys believe that Disney is doing this and calling out Wayfair for shipping children?
Boycott Disney.
Boycott Disney. I'm like, and I'm not a Disney file at all, but I'm just like, there's a hypocrisy in I think a lot of the Christian community that needs to be addressed. If you're going to call out pedophilia because some employees, I think it was a Disney coworker or Disney cruise workers, they were doing a pedophilia ring or something like that. that they got cut off for. Yeah, it was something.
I did not hear about that at all.
It was something of that, yeah. So of that nature, it was like 2 people that were not a pedophilia ring, but like child porn thing that happens, every year. Not at Disney, but I'm just saying in general. So, but there was 2 employees from Disney Cruise that got caught, and then this was like a whole thing. They're like, "Oh my god, how you guys support Disney? Boycott Disney, blah blah blah." Oh my god, how do you guys buy stuff from Wayfair? They're shipping. That's how they ship children in from sexual exploitations to the Epstein Island and all this. I'm like, listen, you guys need to understand that your Wayfair furniture does not include children inside of them. Okay, I'm gonna tell. That's point number 1. Point number 2, you have to call out the hypocrisy on all sides. If you're gonna call out these secular people for having pedophilia or for not being accountable for their love of little boys, you also have to do the same thing on the other side of the line. Especially, like Frankie said, you have to hold these people that are in those positions of power, in leadership, that have chosen this road to be on, to be a leader and a light for Christ. You have to hold those people at another standard. That includes, if you are in any way, shape, or form okay with pedophilia, okay with sexual abuse, okay with making people feel shameful, even though you are also cheating on your wife at home and not living that best Christian life that you demand of us, then at that point you need to really reevaluate yourself and reevaluate your values and reevaluate who you're calling out on social media as far as a whole. Do it on all sides. That was my whole point of making this podcast. Just hold everybody accountable, not just one person, not just one organization, not just one side that feeds your needs and feeds your ego and feeds your values at that moment, but all around. Because if next week,
justice for all.
If you decide to
with
post
liberty and justice,
if you decide to call out Disney one week and then next week you're watching Aladdin with your kids, then you are a hypocrite, and I refuse to spend time with you. Throw out Aladdin and go to a different church. That's what I'm going to tell you right now.
Or spending an hour in line to ride the Aladdin carpet ride at Disney.
listen, the hashtag Save Our Children people were real quiet when this came out.
Oh yeah, I saw
real
nothing.
quiet.
I saw nothing on that.
And the amount of people that DM'd me when I posted that I was watching it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They were like,
What did they say?
I
Yeah.
want to watch that.
Oh, that they were interested in watching it. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, 100%. No, everybody was like, oh, I can't wait to watch this. Oh, I can't wait. Because they were all like,
I had everybody's a lot of people the opposite.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, a lot of people. Oh well, I don't. We're not going to support that. They're all probably. It's probably just showing one side of all the bad things they've done, but they're not going to showcase all the good things that Hillsong has done as well.
How do you defend pedophilia?
Well,
how do you defend actively hiding it? Actively hiding it, covering it up, and just pretending like it didn't happen.
I'm like, we can't look away. There's a
that's the problem.
That's the problem.
And the thing is, they could have stopped it at the beginning. They could have just denounced the dad, Brian Houston's dad. They could have just said, "Hey, Brian Houston could have started Hillsong and called it." Because it wasn't called Hillsong initially, even when the dad was the pastor, right? It was called something else.
Yeah, maybe that's why they rebranded it Hillsong.
Sure, but they could have. He could have actively nipped it in the butt right there. Listen, people are, it's all about tie it into the forgiveness of Jesus. That would have been the thing to do. Sure, this is, not forgiving that, but hey, he's struggled with something, but we're going to then have to separate from that and then move on. Not actively, but then he would have to admit that he knew.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. If it was my dad, I don't know if I would.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if I would.
You think about it in that way. Yeah, that's a whole different perspective. As a son.
As a son, if we can keep it and it's done, it's taken care of. The whole money, giving the guy money. Nah, if the guy wanted to come out with it, then yeah,
that's worth going no contact over, man.
Yeah.
With your dad, that's worth going no contact over.
So, I don't know. But Did you guys have any final thoughts about the documentary? Yay, nay, must see, no see?
Must see.
Trigger warnings.
Mm-hmm.
Trigger
It's
warnings.
a must see. It's a must see, but there's trigger warnings. And the thing is that it's not all, I don't want to say not all churches because that sounds like not all men.
Mm.
There's a lot of truth and a lot of like validity in the documentary, but also like with everything, take it with a grain of salt because
Exactly.
there are extremes on every side,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but there is a lot of truth in what was said. And a lot of that culture, a lot of the toxicity of the culture. And it all comes down to painting a picture of perfection.
Yeah.
Sorry for whoever's editing this podcast. I don't have a pop filter, on my
I
mic.
know all three of those.
So it's like,
P's.
pop, pop, pop.
We'll
Pop,
edit
pop,
in
pop,
post.
post,
We got you.
Fix it in post.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, it's all
post.
about just keeping up the image. And like, there are very few people that I've met that genuinely love people the way that Jesus taught us to. I'm probably one, and that person was not a pastor.
Mm.
You know, so find your own journey. You know, no pun intended. This is not a plug for a church, a church, any one church. You know, it takes time, and sometimes you find the right place, and you're at the wrong time in your life. You know.
Was it you or Frankie that said I needed that if you watch this you need therapy after or have a therapy session booked? Was it you, Frankie?
Yeah. Have that ready. Have it queued
Have
up.
that ready afterwards. Yeah.
Have it queued up.
Yeah.
Did you see your therapist after that or what? Have you talked about this to somebody?
Oh yeah.
We talked about it with each other.
No, I mean of course, yeah. But after, yeah. So all right. So it's a yay, nay.
Yeah.
I mean, yay to watch or nay to watch.
Oh yeah, watch it.
Okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm telling everybody who will listen to watch
podcasts, or not podcasts, documentaries, and Kanye's documentary. Like, what's one more documentary? Oh, but it's about it's about the church now. Now I have to draw the line.
No, you can't.
Down.
Yeah.
If you watch those documentaries about serial killers, watch this. How many Christian women love these?
I went to an elementary school that was like it was a megachurch's elementary school. So I was like here for it.
Yeah.
But then we got to the grossness and I was like, oh God.
Yeah.
And then it's just grossed out. Yeah. And I think as a parent too, that's a whole nother level of
Oh,
grossness.
my stomach.
Or if someone has gone through that trauma before, like that's a whole nother trigger thing. So I understand. I get that from all sides. So but thank you guys for like doing this whole thing. It's definitely gonna be a 2-parter. So I appreciate that. Alex, do you have anything to plug up besides your butt? After Why are you waving your hand? Yes. What would you like?
I have something to say.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna leave everybody with a quote here. This is what I'm gonna say.
Pastor Vivaldi over here. Here we go.
No,
Oh, don't say that.
Please don't. Please don't. I hate you right now.
I want to be your deacon.
There you go. I got you, bro.
Thick and Rose.
People who live in glass houses should never throw stones. That's all I'm gonna say.
Okay.
So if you ever live a life and you are at fault for things, don't try to throw your, whatever you're dealing with on other people. Like, take responsibility for your actions and your mistakes in life, and don't try to put it on other people.
And don't let another day go by without telling your children that you're sorry and that you love them.
What are you guys quoting right now?
You can cut that part, but what I said can stay in there. That's something else. That's the end of the podcast right there.
What?
Someone think of the children.
Oh my God.
Will someone please think of the children?
My part actually was.
Wait, was that
Alex's quote was really good.
Yeah.
Hold on, was that a text message from someone?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't
that,
a text.
Yeah,
it was a speech.
Oh, it was a speech. Okay. Speech.
Yeah, we're gonna cut that.
No, we'll leave it. Frankie. No, we'll cut it. Frankie, thanks again for joining the podcast. I appreciate that you took time out of your busy work week.
Can we have you back on and have a more funner episode?
Yeah.
Yes, please. Can I come back for a fun one where we can drink?
Let's do one where we do mixology before.
Let's do one in
and then
person.
we just drink the
and-
drinks.
And I'll mix up drinks for us, and we'll We'll just talk bullshit.
Listen, Frankie, we do have a lot of fun podcasts. If you actually listen to some of our podcasts,
I do. I want
you?
to be one of the gauntlets, one of the power stones, or maybe I want it to be
the Infinity Gondolas. Okay,
you
all right.
know.
I got you.
There you go.
We'll get you
But-
next time, man. Honestly, no, it was actually we've had some really good podcasts on that, but I have had requests to have like a deeper conversation on things outside of like
Yeah.
us drunk fighting with each other,
You
or
know I can
wrestling
do
with each
both.
other, or like yeah, of course.
I'm
I
a
know you can
jack
do
of
both.
all trades.
But you
I
know,
can
just
go
kind of
deep.
get your feet wet here a little bit, Mr. Rose. We just want to put you on here, and you know, just to open the door just a little bit, the little forbidden door. We do love you, but let us know where we can find you, what you're promoting, what you're plugging for our listeners.
Well, you can find me at iamfrankrose.com, and pretty much I am Frank Rose on pretty much all the social media platforms, IG, Twitter. And yeah, man, follow me. You know, you can slide in the DM.
You can find them downtown on Mills.
You can find me, hosting Orlando house party events on Mills 50. You know what I mean? We're taking over. We're doing pop-up events. You know, so I'm dabbling.
Or just hanging out at guest house, you know?
Or just
Sunroom.
You can find Frank Rose at Guest House and Sunroom. I will be at Tori, so you can visit us both. It's fine.
Yes. Oh, I love
Tori is life.
I'll be
I
at
was there last night.
Chicken.
At where?
Oh, chicken. Oh, dang. I want
Okay.
chicken fire now.
Or Antiques. I'm usually at Antiques too.
Antique school.
That's so
I've never been there. I want to
Oof.
go.
so good.
You know who bartends there? I'll tell you about it after. I shouldn't spread the word, but
Carl Lentz.
I'll tell you. Ew.
Antonia.
Antonia Lentz.
Word. Yeah.
Antonia Lentz.
All right,
Carlton Wentz.
Follow him everywhere. I am Frank Rose. I am FrankRose.com. Stephanie, do you have anything plug to
I mean, if they want to follow my photo page, I haven't posted this
Yes,
year
tell
at
us your
all.
photo page because I botched it earlier.
Yeah, it's at Steffi Vivaldi. But there's only it's with an F, Stefy.
Vivaldi.
Vivaldi, like the composer.
Yes.
Everyone's like, that's such a cool last name. And I'm like, I'm just married into it. I'm sorry, I didn't.
Correct.
It wasn't
yeah.
mine.
It wasn't earned. Yeah.
Can't take credit.
No, it wasn't.
I mean, I earned
it.
that.
It was earned, but it wasn't. It wasn't free.
No, I paid for that.
No, you did it.
I pay for it every day.
What?
You paid for a name change, literally.
I did pay
Oh,
for
that's
it.
true.
We're gonna do an episode where I become a counselor, a marriage counselor.
Don't you have to pay for a marriage license? Right?
I can do it. I can sign marriage license.
True.
That's what I do. I'm an
You
officiant.
did. You married us.
Yeah.
Yes, I am Frank Rose. He's also an officiant. So if you are getting married, go ahead and check him
Mhm.
out. Check out Stefan
Oh.
Vivaldi. Yep.
My podcast is called I'm Asking But Don't Ask.
I'm asking, but don't
I'm
ask.
asking,
But
but don't ask.
Yes. So follow her podcast as well as it on Apple Podcast, Spotify,
Yeah,
all the usual.
Spotify, Apple, those two.
Sweet. And then Alex, of course, you can find him on twitch.tv/El Connoisseur. He has been very active almost every day this week, playing some Fortnite and stuff like that. So send your kids
Every
down there and they
day?
can watch.
What are you talking
every
about?
day.
Yeah, I want to start playing now too.
Yeah, Frank Rose.
Someone
jump
teach
on.
Frank Rose how to play Fortnite, please.
Please.
Oh,
Teach
let's
me.
do it.
We'll do it.
Yes.
We'll do it. All right, guys.
There's no more building, so you're allowed. You can
We
come.
in there now. I'm good. I'm good now. That's why I didn't play because of the building. I was like,
Right,
I know.
exactly.
man, I ain't
Too
trying to do
much.
Minecraft.
Yeah.
I'm trying
I
to
want
shoot.
to Minecraft and shoot people. Yeah, exactly. Just want to shoot. Let me shoot.
Shoot, babe.